First, a brief reference to the history of the Nazi Party.
As the infamous Hermann Goring awaited his fate at the Nuremberg trial, behind the scenes, another Goring, his younger brother Albert, was fighting for his freedom. The amazing story of Albert Goring would take decades to emerge, and he would die ignominiously before it did. Albert Goring was born on the 9th of March 1895 near Berlin. The fifth child of Heinrich Ernst Goering, the former Reichskommissar to German Southwest Africa and German Consul General to Haiti. The Goerings were related to aristocracy, including the Zeppelins, of airship fame, and the Merck family, founders of the pharmaceutical giant that bears their name. The Goering family lived with their children's aristocratic godfather of Jewish heritage, Ritter Hermann von Eppenstein, in his Weldenstein and Mautendorf castles. Von Eppenstein acted as a surrogate father to the children, as their biological father was often away. Like his brother, Albert served in the First World War as a signal engineer in the German army. Following the conflict, Albert became something of a bon vivant, with a dilettante career as a filmmaker. When the Nazis ascended to power, with his brother at the very top of the party, it seemed that Albert was set fair. However, he despised the Nazis, regarding them as brutes. He quietly, and sometimes very publicly, intervened on behalf of people in the crosshairs of Nazi tyranny. Stories abounded of Albert intervening in the street, where lower-level Nazi officers were mistreating citizens, often Jews. The officers in charge were immediately cowed when they discovered who he was. When Albert's former boss, Oskar Pitzer, was arrested by the Nazis, Goering used his influence to have him freed, then further assisted Pitzer and his family in escaping from Germany. At the time of the Anschluss, or union, between Austria and Germany, Albert was based near Vienna. He set about exhaustively trying to arrange exit visas for as many of his Jewish friends as he could. He also managed to convince his reluctant brother to have Archduke Joseph Ferdinand of Austria, the last remaining Habsburg prince, released from the Dachau concentration camp. After the outbreak of war, Albert was appointed export director of the Skoda works in occupied Czechoslovakia. In Prague, he was brazenly subversive, forging his brother's signature to have dissidents released, and requesting labour from concentration camps, then releasing them as soon as they arrived. There's lots more to come in this video, but please consider liking, subscribing to the channel, and sharing. And please consider supporting my work with a PayPal donation. The link is in the description. Thank you. Yet no matter what he did, Hermann was always loyal to him, and constantly used his clout to pull Albert out of the fire. 4 times he squashed arrest warrants. In 1944, there was a shoot-on-sight order from the SS in Prague against Albert. Hermann stuck his neck out again, but this time informed Albert that this would be the last time. The brotherly love was understandable, but Hermann Goring's actions have also led some to consider reappraising parts of Hermann's reputation. Specifically, could the man who jump-started the Holocaust by sending a memo to Reinhard Heydrich requesting a plan for extermination be less anti-Semitic than previously assumed? Hermann Goring certainly had no problem sparing Jews that his brother asked him to. He often did so merely for financial gain, or to add to his world-renowned art collection. Despite signing the infamous memo, he played no active part in the Holocaust, and may have signed the order simply because Hitler didn't want his name on it. By 1942, following his defeat by the RAF in the Battle of Britain, and his failure to prevent Allied bombing of Germany, he was completely sidelined. He spent the remainder of the war brooding in his castles and villas, Hitler's deputy in name only. At best, Hermann Goring was ambivalent toward the fate of the Jews, with Albert as his occasional conscience. Albert was detained after the end of the war, purely for being Hermann's brother. The two men met for the last time in May 1945 at a transit jail in Augsburg. Hermann apologized to Albert for putting him in a difficult position. The Allies at the Nuremberg Tribunal refused to believe that Albert was part of the resistance to Nazism, until 34 prominent people came forward with their stories of how Albert had saved them. But things would not improve when he gained his freedom. He was shunned in Germany and found it almost impossible to find work. Depression, alcoholism, and divorce followed. Living in a small flat on a state pension, his last years were far removed from the splendor of his earlier life. On the 20th of December, 1966, he died penniless and a pariah, without any public recognition of the part he played in saving hundreds of innocent lives.